Okay, I call the select board meeting order for our December 16th, 2025, and I begin with our public participation at town Hatfield Select Board meetings. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all the other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the select board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. Under announcements, I'd like to begin with Hatfield Illuminarium this Saturday at 4:30. The First Congregational Church has a concert. At 5 p.m., the Craft for Kids are at the Hatfield Public Library. At 5:30, the townwide lighting of Illuminarium candles. And at 6 p.m., the holiday program that'll be here in front of Town Hall will be featuring greetings, caroling, and Smith Academy. And after that program, usually around 6:40, 45, refreshments with Santa at the Hatfield Fire Station. I believe I've covered everything on the Illuminarium, except I know there's no fireworks this year, according to Facebook page I saw, due to some issue that occurred. So I hope to see everybody there at Illuminarium. Also under announcements, I'd like to announce that Hatfield has received a FY 2026 Municipal ADA Improvement Grant for a maximum grant of $40,000 and a Town of Amherst citation in recognition of exemplary service following the fire at 4757 Olympia Drive. I know the Town of Hatfield firefighters assisted in that major fire, and I'd like to thank them for their assistance in that particular fire. Those are my announcements. Do you have anything else?
You know?
Okay, with that,
If I could just say real quick,
all right.
just because there are a lot of questions about the fireworks, just have a little more information if that's helpful for folks. So this was put together by the celebration committee, just to let people know that the location where they used to be shot off from is no longer available to us. We can't do it there, and we are yet to find another location. Last year, we also had the drought issue. We do still have a drought issue this year too. So we're looking into the future as where it can possibly be located. If folks have ideas, let us know. But the focus has shifted to doing this float contest again, which was a big success last year. We're excited to do that again. And the celebration committee is continuing to look for opportunities for fireworks for the future.
What time is the float judging?
I believe it's by 6:30 they'll announce the winners. I think that from 5:30 to 6:15 they'll folks can bring them around, but I know it's on the website.
Okay. So hopefully you have a float in the float contest and hopefully you win. So under public forum, I know we have a couple folks here for public forum. Cheryl, we're opening up a public forum.
Is this working? Okay, great. Well, good evening. My name is Cheryl Nicholas from Hatfield, and I'm attending your meeting tonight to share the news on my upcoming book, which is going to be published soon. You have with you a book announcement, and so I'll just talk very briefly about my book. The book is called Divided by the Great River. It's a story of 17th century politics, faith, and a New England's town incorporation at Hatfield, Massachusetts. The story is about the families who lived along the Connecticut River at Hatfield and Hadley, mostly between the years of 1658 and 1670. It's a story about their faith, their politics, their personalities, amid the first government of Massachusetts to create a new town in the Commonwealth. I tell this story through a series of 17th century legal petitions, court cases, meeting minutes, and letters written by the families that provide an account of the effort and emotions that were part of building a new church, a new town, a community in the process by which they separated in 1670. Importantly, the Massachusetts legal system between 1630 and 1686 gave new rights, due process to individuals that did not exist before. These laws and statutes are incorporated in my story to tell how the Hadley and Hatfield Puritans were part of a political process that developed an organic, innovative system of laws, a body politic, a civil constitution for all to engage in. The Hatfield and Hadley story is a story of community, brotherhood, covenants, and family ties that still exist between the towns today. There are multiple 17th century petitions, images, court cases. Many of these petitions I've transcribed myself. I've spent 4 years writing this book. During that time, I've learned who these people were, learned about their faith, their passions, and the myths about the Puritans are a legend, and I hope my book dispels many of those myths. And I hope, in summary, that others will enjoy reading about the early Puritans of Hatfield and Hadley as much as I have gotten to know them in the past 4 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Great.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Is anybody else here for public forum? If not, we'll move to topic 1, which is to approve annual license. Actually, I'm going to do the consent agenda, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the November 25th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. Okay. Now I'll move to topic 1. Approve annual license renewals for 2026. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 annual license renewals as presented in this report.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. And as far as discussion, everybody's up to date on their taxes and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Topic 2, change of officers at Tazewell Kazmierza, known as the Hatfield Polish Club. I think, Daryl, just state your name, where you're from, and why you're here.
I'm Gregson Chase. I live on Bridge Street in Hatfield, and I am a board member for the Hatfield Polish Club. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have for me.
Okay, so you're here to just for us to accept the motion of change of officers.
That is correct.
That's correct. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change of officers for the St. Casimir officers for TOW SW Kazmierz GP 1965 ZNP.
Second.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
Okay, thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you.
I figure I had to say it the way it's printed.
Okay, topic 3, we have an interesting next topic 3 for Smith Academy student proposal for welcome of Hatfield signs of Smith Academy students, and folks want to come up and get a seat, and whoever's going to do the speaking. I believe you have a small presentation. Is that correct also?
Yes, it is.
Nice. Please state your name and also why you guys are here. Actually, you can introduce all of you. That'd be great.
My name is Tyler LaValle, and I'm joined by Ashton Thayer, Levi Shea, and Ryan LeBay. I just want to thank Mr. Levine for helping us come down here. We are juniors in Smith Academy working together on the Civic Action Project for news literacy. And this project is designed to have students make a change in their community, positive change. And our group decided that Hatfield needed a big, bright welcome sign to welcome people into the town. So if my friend Ryan has some handouts of some location, of the location that we're proposing this sign for and some design ideas.
Thank you.
So there is a patch of land that the town owns that goes into Elm Court off of Elm Street. And we believe that this spot would be perfect for a welcome sign because it's just over the bridge coming into Hatfield. And on the next page of that sheet, we have some design ideas. We believe that a great idea would be to have the town emblem as sort of inspiring it, but Mr. Levine also mentioned to us about getting a town-wide survey for the town to decide what the sign should look like.
So would you like to have a bunch of different designs and then the town sort of go online and vote for these designs?
Yeah,
How would you
we
like to do
would
it?
work together to come up with a bunch of different designs, and we would have that put into a survey for the town to vote on which they like best. So it's more of a community decision and not just us.
Nice. I like that idea. It's,
Mhm.
you guys have any questions on that?
The only concern that I have with the placement of the sign is that you have a road exit on either side of it, and depending on where it's placed could be a obstructive hazard to cars exiting.
Right.
So the placement would have to be far enough back in that island that it's not going to obstruct view from the stop line where it would be.
Right. We also plan to contact DigSafe to make sure that there's no cables or things that could be damaging to the town or our installers, which will be us.
I think the other thing you have to contact is probably the building inspector because he's the zoning officer and we do have bylaws on size of signs and what's acceptable. And he can give you at least an idea of what type of signs allowed in town. And that would be helpful as you put your design together.
Right.
I think this is a great idea. I think it's a great spot. I would just make sure that between talking with the building inspector about the exact placement of the sign, but also the size and everything, that way you guys can really dial in your design and make sure that you're planning for the right size. You don't want to have too busy of a sign if it's going to have to be smaller, something like
Right.
that. So
Thanks for the suggestions. But the best part about our proposal is that it will cost nothing. It's completely fully funded through generous donations from L&L Fence Company.
Oh.
And we will be providing the rest of the labor.
Awesome.
that's awesome.
That is good news.
And basically what we need from you is we need permission to build on that plot of land.
I have no objection to what you're doing. I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate you doing this. I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
comments.
I agree. I think this is a great idea. I'm glad you thought of it and that you're willing to go through with it.
I agree. I think it's a good spot. I think some coordination with DPW, police, fire, and the building department just to make sure the placement is proper.
Yeah.
Is as long as all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, then it's a great spot. So
So I'll make a motion that we support what you're doing and hope you continue and just leave us informed on the process and where the survey is. So there's, I guess that's a proper motion, right? So
yeah.
motion made,
I'll second it.
motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so you have our support and just let us know as you continue through on what you're going to do. That's all.
Good to see you getting involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
the feedback and suggestions.
We'll follow up. Excellent.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
fire.
topic 4, Fire Chief Bob Flaherty. Let's see, you have a request to attend the Congressional Fire Service Institute's Annual Fire and Emergency Services Symposium and Dinner in Washington, CDE on March 18th to the 19th in 2026.
Correct.
So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So I was fortunate enough to get picked through Western Mass Fire Chiefs this past year in 2025 to go down. And it's an opportunity to meet individually with our legislators and talk about some of the fire service priorities specific to Massachusetts. I was chosen again this year from a group of chiefs from Western Mass as well to go and represent Hampshire County specifically this year and talk about our priorities for this coming year in 2026. So it was, the request is essentially because it's part of our HR policy from traveling out of state, and to have it be considered part of my work week as I'm with other chiefs networking. It's part of my regular duties, and all the costs will be funded through Hampshire County chiefs or Western Mass chiefs. They're just finalizing who's kind of covering the cost, but
Okay, so basically they're covering the cost, but you're hoping that we cover those 2 days, or is it? 2
it's just
days?
that would be considered my work week instead of burning vacation time or whatever, as it's part of being the chief, is to go down and
So
talk to the legislators. And
my only two
network.
questions on that would be, the first one would be just for the town's purpose, how it benefits the town by you going, so they have an understanding of that.
Yeah, so there's actually a fairly large contingent from Western Mass. Each individual chief will meet with their specific senator or representative while they're down there, just finalizing the meetings and talking about the issues within the fire service and some of the priorities that are talking about for the entire region and also the entire state. So that's kind of what we're going down for, so that way our representatives can understand some of the struggles that we have. We had a good meeting, about 55 minutes in this past year with Senator McGovern. It was a really good conversation.
And my second question would be, who would be covering in your absence, and how does that work?
I hadn't looked at the actual specific days of who's on as far as the other two full-timers to see who was working, but then the shifts would become open to allow somebody else to pick up those shifts.
Okay. So would like your deputy chief or one of your captains be?
No,
in charge of
all the
something?
officers they wouldn't be working the shifts, as none of them are EMTs, but the deputies would ultimately be left in charge for those couple of days while I'm out of town.
So we'd be paying for the deputy to be working the shift
Nope.
while you're out? Or?
Nope, they won't work the shifts because they all work regular full-time jobs. All
Okay.
of our officers are call members, so they all work somewhere else during the day.
No,
They
those
would
are
just be
my-
responsible for any administrative questions that might pop up.
Yeah, those are my questions. I don't know, you guys have any questions?
No, those are my questions, how it would benefit the town. That's for the first section of it. And I know you've gone there before, and I know it's important to meet the legislators. It's too bad the legislators can't meet up here where they're from, who they represent.
Would be nice.
Yeah, but
This
I
is a very large
understand that's
group.
how it works.
They're all from all over the country. I think the last year was about 400 total chiefs, deputy chiefs from all across the country. I think Massachusetts, we had 34 from the state representing the different districts.
So,
I'm okay with that first part.
all right, so you're all set?
Mhm.
Let's see, you're on the fire department, so I don't know if you can vote on this
I
motion.
can vote because it doesn't involve
That's right, doesn't
pay
involve.
or
Hmm.
any sort of chain of command.
That's right, so
issues.
you're allowed to vote on this motion too. So either my colleagues like to make a motion.
This is for which one is this for? Let me hold on.
Topic 4.
For the whole page.
Well, there's two separate things here, though, isn't there?
Well, the motion includes,
The bottom one's a different thing.
So if you want to make it easier, I can discuss the bottom one and then you can make a motion for both if it makes it easier for you.
Sure.
So the second part was also, this is something new that the Western Mass Fire Chiefs chose to do this year. They would like to get some more professional development offered to the chiefs this year. And this was a lottery that if you were interested in going to the fire department instructors conference out in Indianapolis, put your name in, they put every name in the hat. And I was one of the ones that was fortunate enough to get chosen for this. There's about 35,000 firefighters from across the country that attend this. There's different seminars and classes over the course of the 3 days that we're there. And it's another place of, networking and taking some of these courses. The final class schedule hasn't been finalized yet, so we don't necessarily know which classes we'll be attending. But it's just another place to gain some more knowledge. I know that there was going to be talk about lithium-ion batteries and energy storage systems, which is a big thing that's come up. And we do know that's one class. So I was just picked, and this is the same thing, is all costs are going to be covered by the Western Mass Fire Chiefs Association. So it would be just the days not at work to attend it.
But the motion on the agenda only was for one.
No, I think we're missing the second one. So
You
we
got
would
the
we'd have to add that
updated-
as well.
Yeah.
We'd have to add after March 18th through 19th, 2026.
We can do
We'd have to add and the
We can do two separate.
Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis, April 21st to 25th.
We can do two separate motions, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the same question that Ed asked is, how does this benefit the town? And is it worth it to the town to have you not around here for a whole week?
As far as how it benefits the town, the different course topics that are there, it's, you're just learning new and expanded material on a lot of things that are going on in the fire service across the country. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing. Again, without the final class schedule, I don't know the exact courses that are going to be offered. They're still kind of tweaking those. So I can't swear by every single class that I would be attending over the 3 days, but it's about a 6 or 7 hour day each day, specifically in the courses. So that would probably be the biggest thing, is just that continuing, the knowledge of the fire service and getting different perspectives from some very astounding teachers across the country and lecturers.
And this is just kind of a luck of the draw thing too, right? Like both of these opportunities, you might get to go every couple of years, but it just so happened that your name came out of the hat twice this time
Correct.
for both of these. So while there's maybe a drawback to having you, out of town for both of these, it probably is a good thing to have you have these opportunities for the learning and the networking and everything else you get from this kind of professional development. It's just kind of how the chips fell, but it's a good thing.
And there's continuing education available as well,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Yes, there is. The plan is for next year, they're going to offer up this same raffle, I guess is the lack of a better term, put names in the hat. And they're actually going to be offering it up to deputy chiefs and training officers for next year. They wanted to send out chiefs of department, make sure that it was worth continuing this process. And then it was going to be expanded to other other ranks in the coming years. And they would do it by a
You're
raffle.
going to get it in the future since there'll be more people.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be eligible after this year, really. They're going to move it on to deputies and training officers for the next 2 to 3 at least, as long as it works.
And it's the same deal. They're paying for everything except you want it to be part of your work.
Correct. Yeah, they're covering all the costs associated with it.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No, if you're the head of the department, if you think this is worth it, I'll back you.
I've seen a lot of good things about it. I've been interested for a few years about going, and it just happened to work out that my name was picked out of about, I think it was 17 other chiefs. So, and there's a group of us going. It's not just me. There's actually 4 of us specifically from Western Mass Chiefs Association that are going.
Well, if you feel it's going to benefit our town and benefit our department, I don't have an issue with it.
That is the hope. I'm hoping to get some more knowledge, cover some different topics that I haven't, attended yet.
And I hope we can backfill your shift too, because
Yep.
I think it's important to have a paramedic in town, so.
The shifts will be open once, probably by later tonight, I'll go home and open them up, so then they would be available for others.
Okay, I'll make a motion, if that's okay.
Let's go right ahead.
Make a motion to approve Chief Flaherty's request to attend the Congressional Fire Services Institute Annual Fire and Emergency Services Symposium and Dinner in Washington, CDE, on March 18th through 19th, 2026.
Motion made,
Second.
motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And then there's one more motion needed.
I will make a motion to approve Chief Flaherty's request to attend the Fire Department Instructors Conference, FDIC, in Indianapolis, Indiana on April 21st through the 25th of 2026.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Hope you can come back and give us a report on what you did and what happened and new stuff.
I gained a lot of knowledge when you guys let me go to the station design conference earlier this year too. I have pages and pages of notes and lots of pictures and stuff, if that were to ever become a thing there. So it was definitely a valuable.
Great thing to talk about down there.
It's definitely very valuable, and I definitely have a lot of notes from that conference. So it's very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Chief. Topic 5, Mike Oles is here to give us an update on our 5 and 10 project. Mike is from CEI, which was the engineer on that particular project.
Yes, good evening. And as you may recall, as the contractor finished up their work this past end of the summer into the fall, there were videos taken of the interior of the pipe and some pretty extensive amount of construction debris, dirt, some rocks, things like that were encountered, along with areas of significant water ponding, and raised a lot of questions in terms of just one, the cleaning, because it was certainly in no condition to be accepted by the town. And then separately, what was the cause of the ponding of the water? Was it the debris, or was there something going on with the way the pipe was set to create a low spot? So the contractor did the cleaning and flushing of all the debris, finished that up before Thanksgiving. As part of that, they redid videos of the entire 3,600 feet plus or minus. And we've looked at those separate from, as their subcontractor was videoing, they're noting certain issues of concern. They only highlighted a couple, and we went through them, and it's clean. So that's a good thing, but there's still a number of issues or areas where there is some water ponding, which it shouldn't be. This entire length was set up with its design slope meets the minimum recommended, and we were trying to kind of balance not going any deeper than we needed to, but trying to make sure that at the upper end, the northern end, that everybody would be able to connect into it and flow reasonably well by gravity from their house into this new sewer.
And what is that design slope?
It's 0.4 feet per 100 feet.
So 4 tenths.
And there were some minor changes during construction, as there often are, as you run into certain issues. But when we looked back, we started to see some of these areas of water collecting. In some areas, it's an inch. So it's like there shouldn't be, maybe there might be some visible, but not an inch. And then there's other areas where, one in particular, it's backed up at a manhole and then upstream for like 3 inches. It's substantial. So we started looking at, is this a localized spot where the pipes were laid incorrectly, so that you end up with what they refer to as a sag, and it will forever be a problem because that's where everything's going to collect and will create a maintenance issue for the town. So we were looking for that. Or was it something else? And we in looking further, we had also spot checked, just quickly while they were doing the cleaning, the depths from the invert or from the rim down to the invert at every manhole. And when we went back and looked at those versus the plans that they were following, something doesn't make sense. So what I'm proposing is, first, we need to go back and resurvey all the rims and invert elevations and at least rule out that the sewer manholes were set the way they're supposed to. And then work back from there in terms of where the piping might have been, something is wrong with the way the invert was set or cast in the manhole, backing it up. I didn't see anything like that, but
So I mean, the bottom line is, how we gonna fix it? I'd like to bring Marlo into this
Absolutely.
conversation.
yeah,
Come up here. I know Marlo has actually looked at some of the camera, and I know he has some questions. I'm not an engineer. I'm not familiar with the work you do, so my only question is, how is it gonna get fixed? When is it gonna get fixed? What's the timeline? And when can we get people tied into this? So I'm gonna let Marlo take it over from here.
Yeah, when I reviewed all the footage, obviously the line is clean, it looks better, it's nice green pipe. But I found, my opinion, a few other things to talk about is the rolled gaskets that got cut out. The pipe sits in a wet area. As we all know, DEP, EPA don't like a whole lot of I&I going into our sewer system. It's also treating water down the plant that is groundwater. The other thing that jumped out to me was, I think it was 2, maybe 3 manholes. It may have been the first one or the second one. When the camera looked up, you got to say an 18-foot deep manhole, and none of the ladder rungs hung up on, lined up on the sections. One of them looks like a half a spiral staircase. That is a complete violation and certainly a safety issue to get down on a manhole if we had to in the future. I understand a 1/4 inch of water, so on and so forth. You probably get that in a deflection of a new pipe, but the 1 to 3 inches, that has to be resolved.
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
We obviously don't want sewer backing up into homes and realizing when it's too late when we get the phone call. The other thing that was mentioned in your email and the report was, as you repair a segment at a time and then allow it to be used.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with that,
Okay.
not with the history here. I just came here in July. I think we have to have a complete acceptable system, and the contractor has to release the project.
The
in
entirety.
full. That's the way I feel about it.
What's the contractor saying on this?
Contractors being cooperative at this point. In terms of the contract, there is roughly $500,000 yet to be paid to the contractor, and at this point will not be paid until these issues are addressed. Some of it may, if it's truly a sag in spots, it's going to require relaying of certain lengths of pipe, the extent of which we'll be figuring out once we look at the inverts and kind of chase that back.
So they have to dig it up again?
It's possible at their expense.
Excavation is going to be the only way to relay a sagging pipe.
Right.
There's no way to address that. Like rolled gaskets that have been trimmed out, if we want them to line the pipe, it would be an acceptable way, but it's not going to change the grade of the pipe.
Right.
So the only way to change the grade is full excavation again. So I have a lot of notes on this that I kind of want to run through in a systematic order. We've already touched on the ponding and the sagging, and talking about full depth excavation is something that we're going to need to get into. But I have a lot of problems with all the manholes and the slope problems. One of which being that before the manhole was completed, the inspection should have caught any sort of misaligned ring sections of manholes, as well as top rim levels and bottom inverts. Like, all of that should have been covered before they started to move on to the next section of pipe. So I guess I'm a little curious where the oversight was on that, and now why are we 5 years later almost having to go back to potentially the first manholes that were put in? So we need to address where, I mean, the work is not great, but also the oversight and some of this definitely should have been addressed during the project. Some of the pipes that are entering the structures are broken going through the sides of the structure. And I haven't had a chance to look at the plan detail of what the bottom of the invert is, but traditionally now, the way that most companies and engineering firms build the bottom of manholes, it's a piece of pipe that's cut in half so that you have continuous plastic that flows through. So there's less places for paper and grease and other debris to get hung up. All of the manholes that we have received are all old style, full brick laid and mortared bottom of manholes, which again, I'm not exactly sure what the plan detail calls for, but I have a hard time to believe that's what was called for.
You're correct.
Okay. So at minimum, they need to replace all of the bottoms and the inverts on all of the manholes through the entire project. There's, as Marlo mentioned, there's more than one manhole that there's misaligned steps in. So those all need to be straightened, and it's a huge safety concern. And then back to slope, you know, it's been mentioned that there's a pretty good section that doesn't even meet the minimum requirement of 0.4 per 100. So that needs to be relayed. The gaskets that have been trimmed, I can understand how it probably happens. They're down pretty far and they were pushing pipes together with the bucket of the excavator, and the gaskets were rolled. They've since been trimmed. It's my personal opinion that any section that has had to have a gasket trim should have to be lined the entire length from manhole to manhole. So we have a clean, smooth pipe for things to move through.
Yep.
And then the last two things that I personally have is we need to set a clear expectation of what the timeline is. And to be quite frank, the people on Route 5 have had to now incur multiple septic tank pumpings, as well as potential failed leach fields. There's a new construction house that's going up who had every intent in tying into a sewer system and now has to have a septic design done. So I feel that the contractors should be held responsible to help cover some of these costs for these people who were told that they could tie in 3 years ago now. And then finally, the paving. It's absolutely deplorable. I will personally be working very closely with Mass DOT on it. Both northbound and now southbound is starting to sink on all of the cross trenches as well as the main trench. And we're not even through a full 3-star cycle. So all of these issues, I think between CEI and the contractor and the select board, we need to go through and create a realistic timeline. And if it can't be agreed upon or met, then gloves are coming off.
Totally agree.
This is just, it's not okay the way that the town of Hatfield is being treated. And the poor quality of work. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't know if you guys have anything else you'd like to add, but
I think you said it a lot nicer than I would have, but anyways, you
I'm
have any
trying-
I
comments?
totally agree, but I think we also are owed an explanation as to why all this was done wrong so far, and it just kept going. Like something was done wrong, and then something else was done wrong, and it just kept happening and happening. It's like nothing got accounted for, so didn't we pay for that? I mean, so that we wouldn't be here?
yeah,
There's
you
a
know,
lot-
I do
lot
think
missing
there's
here.
some onus here on the contractor, but there is some for CEI as well.
There's a lot of
for inspectors
accountability.
on site.
The accountability is non-existent, it seems, on this throughout the project, and now it's all caught up on us. And
Yeah, I when I look at those videos and I see the misaligned, something like the misaligned rungs, that should never happen. That's so obvious.
and for them to make their way at least 90 degrees around the structure is just,
It's bizarre.
and it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
completely. They're unusable
correct.
the way they are.
And you can't safely send someone down that manhole to even to re-brick the bottom, to be honest with you. It's not a, it's a safety concern. And so that entire manhole is going to have to come out. Because the only pipe section that, the only riser section that could be considered acceptable is the very bottom one. And some of these are, 4 or 5 rings deep. So you're going back down 20 feet on some of these original manholes.
Yeah,
And
coming up with a suggested alternative on how to get an alternative aligned ladder in there at
Yeah.
their cost.
Well, and I don't know what we can do for the residents on the street there that have been putting up with this for years and years, and now they're gonna have to put up with it again. Not to mention the bumps in the road. I don't know the technical terms for that, but every time a truck goes by, I'm sure they hear it, or their tailgate, or the dump truck going by every single time, and I'm sure the plow guys hate it. But, and yeah, these people are getting their tanks pumped. They expect it to be connected to the system, and it's costing that, you're paying for the system, plus they have to pay for the system because the system that we're paying for isn't working. So I don't know what we can do for them, but they deserve more than what they're getting.
Well, and as Luke had brought up, something like the additional pumping of septic systems could be considered a potential, a claim against the contractor as part of any final payments due to the contractor once everything's done.
pumping in failed fields.
Pumping or whatever needed to be done because of a failed field.
If a resident needed to
Right.
do extra
Pump
construction or,
excessively, yeah.
And how is it, whatever's going to be repaired and stuff, will there be more oversight than there was?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
There will be,
we assumed, I guess, that there would have been all along. So I wanted more than assume this time around.
we will be working closely with the DPW and with the town administrator to make sure that that happens.
I can assure you I'll be on site plenty.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Because you said in the beginning, kind of looking at the order of operations. You're looking at what's in the camera work. You can't necessarily conclude immediately that it's sagged pipes, because that would be our number one concern, it looks like, is an actual sag.
It's suspicious.
Okay. So you were saying that the first thing to do is to confirm that it is a sag in the pipe.
Yeah, well, and the first step that I'm going to be prompting is surveying the rim and inverts for everything, start to finish.
Right.
Because that's,
I mean-
that's going to establish whether or not there's an issue that's really related to how the manholes were set.
If you have 2 manholes, one to the other, and the inverts are dead on, you can still have plenty of sag pipe in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can shoot the pipe with a laser. There's a lot of other stuff you can do for a shot laser and measure, if you want to start the laser 2 inches down from the top of the pipe and shoot it, it better come out as 2 inches down on the other end. And if it doesn't make it out the pipe, then there's a sag in the middle of the pipe.
Yep. And even if it does, it's depending on where it comes out.
So, I mean, there's going to have to be some pretty substantial work done between CEI and the contractor to figure out exactly what the problems are. And quite honestly, we're going to want a full report of it before we even think about next steps of what excavation is going to be called for and then
when
and setting up the timeline. So
Yep.
it's going to be some cold days out there, but I'd say get started on it soon.
that's what I was anticipating.
I guess you'd have to also consider the state probably won't let you work out there for a few months.
Not to open
Well,
the
this
road, but you
is-
can do a lot of your survey work
Yeah,
right
this
now.
is figuring out the
Good.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a question about, you guys were talking about gaskets that that were rolled. Not sure what that means, but so I assume that there's a part of a gasket that somehow got misplaced. And so you shaved off the part that was sticking up. So is it still working as a gasket?
It's compromised.
Yeah,
That's why I was suggesting that any of the sections that have a rolled gasket,
Yeah.
the pipe gets lined. So it's kind of like an inverted tube sock that they blow down the pipe, and it creates a new full waterproof interior liner
Okay.
that then gets trimmed back on the ends, so that you essentially have a brand new smooth pipe on the inside and water can't infiltrate into
Yeah.
the system.
And is that as good as a gasket that would have been in the right place?
Yeah.
Provided it's pitched, right?
So the
Correct.
whether it
Slope's
doesn't
gotta
matter
be
if you even if you line the pipe, the rest of the structure of the pipe has to be properly installed for pitch and elevation. It's just you're creating a new leak-free solid system on the inside. And it's a very, very, very thin liner, so it's not going to sizably detract from the volume that the system's able to handle. So it's a pretty common practice with old systems. Very
Right.
rarely are you doing this to a brand new system.
Yeah.
Good point. I did
Right.
about 30 miles in my previous community, clay tile pipe, but
Yep.
that was the other comment I wanted to make. I certainly don't want the joints sealed. We got to definitely.
Yeah.
And the newest liners are saying 100 years now, not 50.
Right.
So the technology's come a long ways.
I mean, in my own personal opinion, I think full liner manhole to manhole is the only acceptable answer. I don't feel that grouting, especially on the gaskets that weren't able to be trimmed, that it's going to be effective. And at least in my experience, grouting from internally through on SDR pipe is really only a Band-Aid. It's not going to fully satisfy the problem.
I would not be able, I couldn't convince myself that it was as if it was a new gasketed joint.
Right.
It's not the same.
So, and in terms of I&I and groundwater that's infiltrating the system, until these gaskets are addressed, slope is addressed, and these sections of pipe are lined, we still have stubs that we don't know if are carrying groundwater in any of these cross trenches and the sewer stubs that have yet to be tied into. Because when I was personally on site, I was watching groundwater flow into a manhole from a cross tie. So once we know that your 8-inch sewer pipe is properly installed and watertight, we should be able to observe zero water entering at the pump station. And if there is still groundwater coming in, they're going to have to figure out a way to either line the 4-inch and 6-inch cross ties that are there or fix them properly.
So we sort of need something like a matrix of
We need
what
so
are
much.
the issues, how they're going to be fixed, who's going to fix them, who's responsible, what's the timeline of being fixed, something similar to that. We need
I
something.
think that's someone who had mentioned a report, and I would expect to be back in front of you within the month with
Okay.
that,
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so
saying, here's what we're finding, here's the definitive opinion as to what the issues are
Mhm.
and how to address them.
Is
And
there
that'll be in consultation with the DPW.
we'll have something,
work you would do before that point, or
The surveying,
okay, that's survey?
oh, that should be within the month. We should have that, right?
it has to be.
Okay.
I know the pipe work and everything is our focus, and it should be, but we had a pretty good punch list that wasn't completed either.
Yeah, right.
Which might not matter too much now because a lot of it was like dirt work and finish grading and lawn maintenance and stuff
Definitely.
like that that wasn't done. So
Like-
if we're opening the road back up, all of that's out the window
Yeah,
anyway. So,
and if we were only talking about cross trench bumps, there's actually you can go back and redo the cross trenches, do infrared sealing and and restore the pavement. But I don't know yet. I can't tell you that we might be digging up more than the cross trenches just because of the sewer at this point.
my question for you with infrared is how are you going to increase the volume of blacktop or the compaction issue that's underneath it?
Oh, I'd have them they'd be pulling out the pavement beyond the edges of those cross trenches and redoing that whole patch.
Right. I mean, that's going to be a Mass DOT sign off on
Correct.
top of.
But it
us
wouldn't just be
being-
like a surface
Right.
Band-Aid.
Right.
But it would be a way to, after you do that, like a new cross trench, you don't want seams.
Correct.
So you got to seal it up well. And the infrared does a good job of that. Kind of resealing it together as if it were one.
Any more questions?
Just wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in a month, we're going to get something from you as far as your survey and what some of the issues are. So we begin that matrix of what needs to be done and how it's going to be done and who's going to be responsible for it,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
I think the part that bothers me the most is that the contractor fully pulled off of the job site without it even being close to being done, and then moved on to a job site that is at the end of Hatfield Street in a neighboring town with all of the equipment. I watched them truck it from Hatfield to there. So I just don't understand where, the argument that the season was coming to a close, but yet you still had time to do and complete a whole project. It's unfathomable. I don't know. It really puts me at a loss for words because the project isn't even close to being complete.
But if the contractor decides not to do the job, we have other options.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, the other concern to me is that we had this conversation on September 26th, so almost 3 months ago now, in which we identified these issues and said we got to get the contractor out to camera it, to clean the system, and then we can have this conversation. And the anticipation was we'd like to do that in 2 to 4 weeks, and it took us 3 months to get here from that observation. So I think we just need things to be faster. I think you know that, but I don't know if it's an issue with the contractor. We need to know that. If it's an issue with whatever else, just let us know so we can use the mechanisms we have at our disposal to try to move these things along faster, the timeline that makes sense.
And the other part of timeline as well is the DEP permits have since run up on this.
Sure.
So all the NOIs are now expired. So those are all going to have to be refiled.
Yep.
So, I mean, yes, survey work can take place, but in terms of any sort of excavation or anything like that, that can't happen until the NOIs are done. We know that process takes some time as well. So that needs to be taken care of pretty soon. So, I would say within this month.
Wow.
Conservation's already met for the month of this. No, we haven't. Yes, we. I don't know.
Must have.
What?
You must have.
I think
Right?
we did.
Typically the second
Yes.
second Thursday, whatever.
I know Mass
It still has to go
Works is-
back to the state. Natural Heritage is going to have to sign off on everything again. That could take 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get that back anyway. So
Yeah, because we want to get that report, because I know the state has asked us to keep in touch with them because they invested a lot of money into this project. So they're very concerned too of why it's not completed and
Yep.
why it's not done correctly.
and then my last thing is establishing a timeline and they're going to be held accountable to it. At this point, any missed deadlines, in my opinion, is grounds to pull the bond. I'm over it. It should have already been done, to be honest with you.
Especially since September and then 3 months and then again.
Even on the general construction, all of the deadlines that they asked for continuances for have been missed, and not missed by 2 weeks, but grossly missed. I mean, we're 2 years, 2.5 years beyond the scope of work. It's just, yeah. So we can sit down and make a timeline and hold them accountable to it. But other than that,
And as you mentioned, the bonding is the ultimate carrot.
Right.
Or it's not a carrot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's why it's there, to
We're there.
protect the town.
we're there. So,
I think we're all in agreement on that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so.
And the work that needs to be done to get to within the next month is all in our court. So part of a lot of the issue was the whole flushing and getting that pushed through the contractor.
As far as the flushing, I thought that was supposed to have been completed already, but
With your report, can you include a projected budget amount of what these repairs would
Oh, yeah.
would cost?
Yep,
Um,
need to.
whether we elect to, so that way if the contractor cannot do them, then we have at least some sort of number that we can attach to it. Because to me, it sounds like it's going to be upwards of that $500,000 mark.
Mhm.
So very well could be a potential issue that we run into.
Yep.
So that's all I got.
Our next select board meeting most likely will be January 13th. So plan to do this then?
yes. Look forward to hearing from you on January 13th.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Thank you for
coming.
coming.
I appreciate you being here in person, and everything else. And going over
Wish
all
I had
this.
better news.
Me too.
Great.
Okay, topic 6, presentation by local power.
George, that one's a fun one to follow up, huh?
Good. Good lesson. So how should this work, Andrew? Do I just tell you what? to
I have your presentation loaded up here for folks,
Okay.
and I'll turn this around so you can kind of see where we're at. You can tell me next slide or whatever else, if that sounds good to you. They also have it printed out for them.
Great.
I just need to make this full screen. So we are.
So yes, the first one's good. So my name is George Fedden, and I'm here on behalf of Local Power. And we're based in Williamsburg. So next slide, please. Although we come to you tonight on the subject of waste reform, our experience is primarily in energy and decarbonization, working at the state level and with municipalities. Our founder wrote the legislation behind municipal aggregation, which you might have heard about, and went on to do a lot of the same work in California, developing it. So next slide, please. And we're working in Ithaca currently. So how we got into waste is as a source of greenhouse gas, and then as a public health concern, and because waste systems are unstable. Next slide, please. So the current options for waste disposal and municipal waste disposal are landfills and municipal waste combustors. These are a couple examples. One on the left is of Pittsfield, 500-acre landfill. They send their trash to the north of the Finger Lakes, and it's called Seneca Meadows. And then the left is an eastern Massachusetts waste combustor. Most of the western Massachusetts waste is landfill. Please, the next one. So the trouble with landfills is first the limited lifespan, as I'm sure Hatfield's experienced. This is an example from 2011 Granby. They fill up. And then the other problem is leachate and methane, methane being a greenhouse gas, and leachate containing a variety of very toxic substances. Please, the next one. So you probably heard about PFAS in firefighting foam and the issue of poisoned wells, but PFAS is also used in a variety of consumer goods. You can see the image on the right. And these then go into waste streams. So please, the next one. The way this substance, leachate, which is essentially rainwater going through waste, is disposed of is it's put through conventional treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants, which are designed for biological waste hazards. And so then they're discharged into rivers and also into biosolids, to convert into biosolids. So some of the headlines was Lowell, New York, New Hampshire landfill, leachate, and then on farmland. So then another current option, if please the next one, thank you, is municipal waste combustors. Problem with these are greenhouse gases and then toxic air emissions. The image on the right is of the now closed Pittsfield waste energy facility that had leak problems and was shut down for that reason. Please, the next one. Greenhouse gases, the problem with incineration is the entirety of the carbon dioxide is emitted. And Mass DEP is actually sort of committed to solving that problem and has even put a moratorium on municipal waste combustors, in part because of CO2 emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. And then the other sort of common problem with the waste system is that there's limited in-state and out-of-state capacity, and this can be seen in a variety of sources, Commonwealth and Massachusetts Municipal Association sources. The distances are often significant, and then often they're in destinations which are essentially opposed and continue to attempt to shut things down, such as the North Country residents, Raleigh and Dalton, New Hampshire. And then you can see these are common destinations: Ohio, South Carolina, Canadian border. Next, please. So our project and what we're coming here to speak about is to present a solution that we have identified specifically, and we'll get to that, but also just to want to sort of begin a dialogue with you about trying to find a solution to this, an alternative waste disposal system. And this would involve things like meeting with relevant boards, identifying problems with our solution, which I will present, and then ultimately identifying a solution which would be less harmful to the environment, to public health, competitive with your current rates, and then just a local disposal option, not having to send it so far away. So please, the next one. We identified a company called Waste2H, which is a Delaware corporation and has a technology to convert waste into hydrogen. Please, the next one. It is a gasification facility. It uses, heats the waste to very high temperatures and does this and then controls the oxygen in a closed, it's called a closed loop system. And the idea is that you have much more control over emissions. And then when you heat the waste up, you produce a gas, which is called a process gas, and then carbon char, just carbon. And then our process, that's sort of gasification in general, but our process is then we convert that process gas into hydrogen and then contain the carbon, CO2, carbon monoxide, into calcium carbonate. We combine it with calcium to create limestone, which would be sold, we would sell, or this technology would produce, and the owners would sell. What the process addresses is it breaks down PFAS because it raises the temperatures above 900 degrees to 1400 to 100 degrees, which has been found to break it down. And then because it's closed loop, reduces emissions, and then would sequester greenhouse gases, and then would be a nearby disposal option, a competing market for waste. So please, the next one. Thank you. In terms of the scale, it could be as small as to fulfill the needs of one municipality or two, or it could be regional. These are a number of sizes. They can also be paired, so you could do, 90 tons a day. So please, the next one. The cons are that gasification is a relatively new technology. I understand from what Andrew has said, you found there was a project proposed about sewage, and you had concerns about it. Waste to hydrogen is an even newer sort of addition to this idea. And then waste-to-waste technology facilities have not been built that were commercial. It is on the market. There has been a lot of development studies of the facility. But our commitment in sort of approaching you with a solution is that it would convert non-recyclable waste into hydrogen. It would repurpose carbon emissions. It would be privately financed. So technology would not be owned by the town, would not involve any expenses from you. And then it would provide local municipalities with a waste disposal service. And then this would be sort of our fundamental commitment would be to meet or beat current tipping fees rates. Please, the next one. So my question to you tonight is if you'd like to sort of engage in a dialogue with us about first the project in general of a local disposal solution, and then about this particular solution we've identified. Thank you.
Okay, I do have some questions for you. I mean, I did go online and try to do as much 101 as I could on
Yes,
this
of course.
process. I mean, I still have some concerns what is the proposal? Is there already a place where you have a plant?
It's not. No, this is, and if you're interested, I would go into it, but the idea essentially is we're seeking interest from municipalities because for us to go through the regulatory process and the feasibility studies, we want just some assurance of supply, not a legal commitment, but just some interest. So no, we don't have a site yet.
Well, I think the interesting part for the town of Hatfield is that we don't provide curbside pickup, or we don't have municipal waste to be able to supply you with.
So please tell me I'm ignorant.
We have our transfer station.
Transfer station,
Yeah.
correct, but that is the extent of it. So there's a private company that handles all of like the curbside pickup, and people can get their own local dumpsters. And other than that, there is the town transfer station that does collect some waste, but
Some waste.
I would say,
Okay, so that then would mean that we would have to dialogue with your waste haulers, probably with us.
And George, we can find
And-
out like how much per year we're typically disposing from the transfer station.
Yeah.
So there is still municipal waste that's coming from us. And you know,
Absolutely.
I know you're talking to smaller towns, so the small amount, say it's a quarter of our trash is going to the transfer station, might be less. That still might be equal to what's coming from, say, a Goshen or somewhere else
Essentially,
you're
yeah.
talking to.
right.
Yeah,
Might be.
yeah.
The other question that I had is, so all of this technology is hinging on converting it to hydrogen.
Mhm.
What is the infrastructure build out to be able to use that hydrogen for anything?
It would be another market development, essentially. There are some initiatives at the state level to introduce hydrogen fleets. There's technology that would use hydrogen. And then there's also the possibility of building, climate resilient municipal centers of energy generation, for instance, and then we would sell it to municipalities who might want it. But that would be something we have to deal with.
Part of me said this is more of a town question. You know, I think our town needs to weigh in on this.
Okay.
And would you, I mean, you haven't built anything anywhere yet, right? So
Right.
I'm assuming you're looking for some kind of location.
Yeah.
And then the big concern on this particular plan is if there's any hazardous emissions into anybody that's close living by would be another concern. Because I
Absolutely.
know there's a lot of permitting process
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely. It would involve engaging the public, certainly. And then it's also, it wouldn't necessarily be sited in Hatfield, depending on the scale that you want.
So you're more looking for us to see if we are interested in potentially engaging in a contract to supply you with trash,
Exactly.
not necessarily to build a facility in Hatfield.
No.
Okay.
Now, if we had a site and we were really excited about it, I'm sure George would take that too.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but the first question is on trash itself,
Yeah.
which we
Right.
can find out how much we're even dealing with, and we can talk about what the pros and cons are for the town of providing that. I think it would be feasible, but as far as siting goes, I think that's more challenging.
I mean, ultimately, I think Marlo can attest to this. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the bottom dollar for us. What does it cost for the town to get rid of their trash? Because some of it, and I might be misspeaking, but it goes through the FERCog, right? And so like all of our trash hauling is done through competitive bid.
It's exempt from competitive bid. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can just send it to whoever is taking it away for the least, or if
Right.
they're paying for us for it, whoever wants to pay us the most.
Right.
So we can do it.
So
So I
cost
mean,
is
ultimately, I think that's especially for a small town, that's the nuts and bolts of it is we're probably not going to pay any more to have our trash hauled.
Certainly. So the idea we're currently thinking is meet or beat. So if it's the same as any competition, or if it's less, that would be the agreement to ultimately reach. But no, we definitely would not expect paying more.
So in a sense, it doesn't cost us anything to say we're interested in it going somewhere else. It'd be better for environment, and it's not going to cost us anything, potentially.
And then I
the argument.
could come back and describe this sort of relationship, how it developed over time. Because as I said, there would be no initial legally binding commitment.
Well, I mean, at one time they said recycling was going to save us all this money, and then now it costs us money to recycle.
Not happening.
I mean, that's so.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. The China stopped taking it, and a major expense.
How many
Certainly.
towns have signed on to this?
Goshen, Williamsburg, and Worthington.
I think it's a noble cause. I think that
Thank
there's a lot of potential for a lot of good to be done here. I just feel like there's a lot of infrastructure that obviously still needs to be built out, and I understand why you want some sort of answers or loose commitment of how much tonnage each town could provide. But I mean, for me to make any sort of decision, I think you would need to present this with essentially a bid for what our trash is worth to you.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Because it's not really any different than the trucking companies that submit a bid to haul our trash, or what we pay to have it disposed of at a landfill far off in some place. So
I'll try to explain just a little bit of the process. Essentially what would happen is first we would identify a site, and then we would do what we call a feasibility study of the site, and essentially to decide whether you can do it economically, if it's viable. And then only at that point would we be able to start to give you a specific price.
Right.
For us, part of that feasibility study would be thinking hypothetically, if we have a certain amount of trash or waste from Hatfield, how would that,
Right.
sort of, what results would that give us?
Well, I guess if there's certainly nothing that's legally binding, if Andrew or Marlo can provide you with the amount of waste that we produce a year, I personally don't have a problem with if you want to use that number to try to get a sense of if this would work for you somewhere, not in Hatfield, but somewhere. I don't see any harm in that. So if you can at least do a feasibility study and get something moving in the right way, I mean, we're probably 6 to 10 years from this actually coming to fruition. So
3-year regulatory process.
yeah, and then
Regulatory alone.
regulatory alone, and then build out an infrastructure and what you're going to do with your hydrogen and all of that other stuff. So I mean, this isn't something that's going to be turnkey in the next couple months. So if Hatfield produces 120 tons a year per trash, and that helps you for your feasibility study to figure out how much trash is coming out of little old Hatfield, then I'm okay with if you want to collect some of our data.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about it. I mean, like you said, there's nothing, not really committing to anything here.
Yeah.
I guess.
No,
There's
certainly,
nothing-
we're
there's
certainly
nothing-
not committing
There's
to
nothing
anything.
there's nothing really to commit to, and
Right.
and I'm glad that somebody like you is going after another option, because we're going to run out of places to put our trash. So I think that's positive.
So,
Yeah.
do you want a limited motion? Do you
I
wanna
don't
put
think there's a
together?
motion that's needed.
Yeah. What exactly
I would say
would we have to do here?
if at any point, George, you need something formal from us, let us know. But I think for now, you can take this as an indication of what the select board member was saying. which is that
Maybe I'll dialogue with you a bit about
Yeah.
just what this means, and then come back at a future meeting to sort of.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
for
I
some
would say
reason it's developed.
realistically, to me, it sounds like that you're asking for a request for data from us, really.
Yeah, I mean, how we traditionally did it was we would go to towns with a letter of interest, a draft letter of interest, and you could read it, and Andrew could read it, and then you just sign it, and that's it. And then we would dialogue with you about your waste.
So it sounds like what we can commit to at this time is to be included in your preliminary figures for waste tonnage, essentially, for what you could count on. So you have 3 communities, we would have a 4th in us. We'd say how much typically comes from the transfer station. You could conditionally, include us in that and seeing further plans.
Mhm.
Does that sound about right? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're certainly not
Sounds
committing
right,
to
yeah.
anything because
Nope.
at the end of the day, this board's probably going to change over 3 times before this is ready to move. So,
Very true. All right.
That's true.
but yeah,
Sounds great.
Thank
Thank you
We
for
don't
coming.
always get the chance to be involved in the future, so thank you
Alright.
for
I live
thinking of
here,
us
so
here.
it's
That's pretty
an
cool.
important place to start.
But it is important to have some future things for the
Yeah.
town,
I'm
so.
glad you're looking at it. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Would folks be comfortable with skipping to agenda item 11?
I'm okay
Because
with
of,
that.
we have some folks here in the audience. We want to make sure get this addressed while they're here.
Okay, we'll move to topic 7, commercial pace
No, no,
discussion.
11.
I'm asking, could we move to 11 because we have some people here for the Galanka Farm?
Oh, you want me to go out of order? Okay.
Yes.
If the chair allows,
Topic 11?
please.
Okay, under topic 11, I believe I have some notes on that, of what we have to do. So I'll move to topic 11. And
We have some people here for that if they'd like to come up
Yeah.
and talk. This is the MDAR one.
yes,
Come on up.
I gotta grab my thing. I had it all set. Okay, this would be topic 10 then, right?
11.
No, 11,
11.
yeah. I haven't marked as 10 on this.
Oh,
That's where I'm.
Oh, yeah.
oh shoot.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, it was updated to
Oh.
11. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, according to what I read, is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts acting by and through the Department of Agriculture Resources hereby give notice that it proposes to acquire an agricultural preservation restriction on the real property identified within the purpose of protecting its perpetuality, its superior and productive agricultural resources by preventing their conversion to other uses. The applicable regulations require the disclosure of the Commonwealth's reasons for the proposed land acquisition at a public hearing held in the city or town in which such real property is located. To comply with this requirement, we ask the Board of Selectmen to announce that the Commonwealth is considering this accusation for the above proposed stated purposes at its next regularly scheduled and publicly noticed meeting by reading the enclosed notice of proposed acquisition. So I'm under the impression I have to read the proposed notice of acquisition, correct? Okay, so I'll go to that spot.
The second page.
Yeah, second page. And notice of
Wait.
Okay,
Actually, no. Which
in
one is that?
compliance with general laws C7C, Section 37, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts acting by and through its Department of Agricultural Resources, the department hereby gives notice that it proposes to acquire an agricultural preservation restriction, APR, on the real property identified herein for the purpose of protecting in perpetuality its superior and productive agricultural sources by preventing their conversion to other uses. The application received by MDAR indicates that the property is owned by James A. Galanka and Janice A. Galanka and consists of parcels located on Straits Road in Hatfield as approximately represented on the attached maps. The APR may encompass all or parts of the area shown. The current use of the property is primarily for vegetables. Following the recording of the APR, the use of the subjected property is limited to agricultural use, as more particularly set forth in the APR document, the General Laws, Chapter 184, Section 31, and the regulations of Department 330 CMR 22 at sequence. And it's from the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources by Michelle Padula, APR Acquisition Planning. So what we have before us is the Guancas wanting to put their land into agricultural restriction. And I guess by Massachusetts law, we've made a presentation of that. And I believe we would now, I guess, entertain your comments and what you have to say. Please introduce yourselves and tell us what's happening.
Blanca. And I've been on that farm since '56 when my parents bought it. And we bought some land next to it, the Straits Road property. And we're approaching 70 years of age, both of us, and we'd like to pass it on and let it stay where it is. I'd hate to see it developed, you know. There's a development near there, then it scares me. Yeah, and it's a viable farm. It's you know, a good location that we have, and then I'd like to keep it going.
Great. I've known you guys for years, so I think it's great. And I'm happy that you're going to pass it on to maybe some other younger farmer. That'd be great. And I don't know, the maps are included.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's anything else part of this process that we have to do.
There's one other request from the
Okay.
state, which is that there's a standard 120-day notice period for these sorts of projects. We have the ability as a board, you can make it a 60-day notification process. You can bring down that notification period by waiving the 120-day notice period. It would go down to 60 days. So you have that ability if someone would like to make a motion to waive the 120-day notice period and instead require a 60-day notice period. That's up to you. And if you have any comments on that, let me know, because this is my first time walking through this.
Okay, so any discussion before the motion comes before the board?
I don't.
No,
Okay, does
if that's what they
either
want.
one of you want to make that motion?
Do you want it to be cut down to 60 days?
You're asking for it instead of
The
120 days?
state has asked for that. The state feels like
They would
time
like
is of the essence here. If you support the project, then I think, or support the APR, then it's probably a good thing to do. If, however, you think it would be controversial and there's folks in town who would have problems with it, then you as a board have the ability to instead keep that 120 days. To me, it seems that it's something most people here in town would get behind for keeping this land as agricultural.
Yes,
All right.
I think so.
I'll make a motion to reduce the 120-day notification period to 60 days to expedite the process.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we've cut it from 120 to 60. I don't know if you want to make any more comments on.
I do. My name is Doug Coldwell, and I'm with the Whately AgCom. And this APR is in both towns. And it's a little bit, in Whately, when we fund the local match, if you will, the state gives the vast majority of the funds, and there's the expectation of a local match. In Whately, we do it through using CPC funds or CPA funds. And the AgCom normally applies on behalf of the landowner. So I did that for Whately and for Jim. 40% of the land is in Whately and 60 is in Hatfield. So what I did was applied in Whately, it's a 5% match. So I applied for 5% of 40% of the APR value, which leaves, I don't know how Hatfield funds APRs. I just wanted to be available to talk about what I did in Whately.
So
So
CPAs, Andrew can fill you in on CPAs.
How much did you apply for there? So what was the dollar value?
it was 8,100.
Okay.
And I don't know how Hatfield fund, I mean, if I don't know what the local match is typically in Hatfield.
CPC would be the best option for us as well. I would
Yeah,
think.
and do you qualify for a 5% local match with the state or?
I don't know. I'd
Okay.
have to find out.
I did ask John Pease,
Okay.
and I think he and I are going to continue to talk about it. But I would just like to make sure we do the right thing and provide between the two towns, try to coordinate, providing the local match in its entirety. Our CPC application for the funding was due 24 hours after we found out about the APR. So we got it done with, 15 minutes to spare. And they are open to some tweaking of what I presented to them, but we only have about a month or two to get it done. I think your CPC applications are due November 1st. Maybe?
It already closed, but I think since this came up afterward, and I think there'd be an interest potentially in getting this done in time for town meeting, I could see the committee potentially opening it. So,
Okay.
talk about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like I said, I'm happy to talk about how we do it in Whately. We share this one. And I think if we just work together, we can make sure we're getting the Gallant.
I just say stay in touch with Andrew. He's the guy that makes it all happen.
Just have Whately fund the whole thing. Well, that sounds
There you
fun
go.
too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I might be a tough sell back home. As I can go back there and tell them Hatfield's funding the whole thing.
No. You can take that out of there.
Oh,
Okay, so that covers us as far as what we have to do for this, correct?
Yes, you waived the period as we were asked to, and you read the notice, and then we have some signing to do after, but we'll go through that.
Sounds good.
The meeting's concluded.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
We'll talk, and we can figure out what this match
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give
Sounds
you a
great.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
Perfect.
thanks for coming in.
Nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
Okay.
7.
Okay. So you had 10, that was 11 on my sheet, I guess. I go back to 7 then. The commercial pace discussion and vote.
So this is a follow-up from the last time we met. We had this presentation on commercial pace property assessed clean energy. And, we had a lot of information dumped on us at that point. Talked about some of the pros and cons of the program, but we, declined to take a vote or anything that night. I wanted to evaluate that tonight and talk about it again. See if you had any more thoughts on it. If you feel like you're ready to move forward with it, we could take a vote to do so. If you want some more time, if there's any research you want me to do on it, you can let me know, because I'm happy to provide more information. A lot of towns and cities across the state have adopted this. I think it's seen some benefits, and there is an interested property owner here. There's limited, I'd say, obligation on the town besides needing to be this middleman because the betterment is assessed on taxes. So we end up receiving the money and paying it to mass development. So we're kind of a middleman there, but they have resources to give us, so it doesn't become something that's difficult for our treasurer's office to take care of.
Any questions?
Well, I think that was the problem we had before, was that we were going to be the people.
Mhm.
We were going to be the agency going after the monies.
So it's a good question. Where's the line between going after the money and just setting up a mechanism to have it paid for? Anyone who enters this should be interested in being involved. I don't think they've had major issues with, say, defaults or anything else.
Right.
They set up the mechanism, people pay for it, and I don't know if the town was really needing to do much of the follow up if those monies aren't paid. Possible they would, but there's a limited obligation on the towns from what Mass Development was saying.
I don't have any questions on it. do you have any questions?
I think my only question is just how many other towns are actually doing this?
So it's 80 others that have accepted the legislation, and I think most of the ones, or I'm not sure how many of the ones that have had projects, but I think most of them have had some kind of project after they've gotten involved.
I'm very indifferent on this.
I am too, because I know it's inviting to some businesses to come down, but it seems like it would be, I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure on this either.
I mean, I think
Just-
the only downside that I see is that it's work that our treasurer has to do twice, essentially on the receiving end, then paying end. And
Right, it doesn't seem-
where does the benefit for the town for supplying this service? We don't. What do we get out of this?
Yeah, it's fair to ask how big is the lift on our end, and then how big is the reward. So the potential reward is that maybe some additional new growth, maybe some additional investments. Is this going to make the difference in a large commercial development coming to town? Probably not, but would it help with someone making investments they might not normally do? Maybe. So there's also not a huge lift, I think. It's just a little bit of work from the treasurer's office. They get assistance in figuring out how to do it. I think it's kind of a modest risk and a modest reward. It seems like it's in line to me, but our treasurer was on the call with them and didn't have any concerns about how it would be rolled out. But it's ultimately your decision if you think this is something that's worth doing.
What did
we're
the
in good company.
treasurer say when she was on the call?
Just saying this isn't something we've done before, but it sounds like our the software provider we use has done things like this. That they wouldn't be strangers to putting on their program, and if there's resources helping us figure out how to do it, then it's probably going to be fine.
And town council's reviewed this.
No, I can bring it to town council. That's absolutely an option.
I see like the whole clause on the bottom, like condemning us from liability and things like that. But
Yeah, I can share with
I
town
mean, I'm
council.
sure too is there's another 88 towns that have already signed up for it.
And that's
it's
the thing,
probably
that
pretty
they've-
bulletproof.
This is draft language that made it through Mass Development's pretty thorough legal team. Yeah, and then it's probably been changed by a number of other municipalities that have done this. But no, it's really your call either way.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it personally.
It's minimal for us to do and minimal rewards. But if it'll invite a business to come into town, then I'd say I'm for it.
I'll make a motion to participate in Massachusetts Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program in accordance with a resolution as presented.
The resolution is in your packet.
I'll second
Motion
that.
made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Appointment resignation section. Have a resignation from Matt Shippey. Need a motion on that.
I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Matt Shippey as wastewater operator in training.
Motion made,
I'll second that.
motion seconded. I'd just say, let's send Matt a letter of thank you for his service to the town of Hatfield. And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resignation from John Costick from Recreation Committee. Need a motion on that.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of John Costick from the Recreation Committee.
Motion
Second.
seconded. Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? Send them a letter of thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Appointment of Bob Flaherty to Recreation Committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint Bob Flaherty to the Recreation Committee.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. My next topic, Day Pond project contract. So there was a contract for us to sign
Mhm.
for Day Pond.
And I would say
changes.
it's not quite ready to sign, unfortunately, but we're getting close. I've highlighted a couple areas. One that I wanted town council to take one more look at, the time for performance area, but I think we're pretty good there. Actually, they did review that, and we're happy with it. I think I just needed the contractor to make sure they're comfortable with that language. So just as background, Daypon project. This has been going through engineering for the last year and a half. Went out to bid, and we came back with a low bid from Western Earthworks, our new neighbors who are coming to town. Had great conversations with them so far. They'd like to get started in early January. We'll have a pre-construction conference with them and our engineers to make sure we're in good shape. But they're gearing up for this, and they're excited to do the work. We had one last point that we're going back and forth on, which is we had an ad alternate in the bid about the amount of fencing, chain link fencing that would be there to separate the project from school, and for anyone else who might be trying to access the site. Important for safety, important for the safety of their equipment, everything else. That came back a little high for that chain link fencing, and we've asked if they'd be willing to limit the area, maybe have a smaller footprint for that, would help us stay within budget. So they were just going to check their numbers. We also had an option for it just to be orange safety fencing. We think we probably need something a little more robust than that, since they're in a pretty public place. So it makes sense for them to have the chain link. We just want maybe less area for that. So once we agree on that ad alternate and that amount, we'll add that to section 5 in here on compensation, and then we'll be good to go. So I guess the question for all of you would be if you'd like to provisionally accept this tonight, granted that we get to an agreement on this last ad alternate, or if we just wait to approve this and get your signatures for a future.
I'll go with the provisional agreement on it as far as, so we can move this project along.
Great.
So I'll make a motion that we accept
I
the
just
provisional
have a
agreement.
couple questions.
Yep.
So is this contractor bonded, similar
Yes.
to other contractors? Yeah,
There's a requirement to have a performance bond.
right. And we have a
Yes, yeah.
copy of all of that?
We do not yet, but the full contract can't be signed unless we have those materials. So it says in here, it includes these performance and payment bonds. So we will need that in order to sign the contract or to fully execute it.
Okay, my other question would be that originally, I don't know if plans have changed, but the site access was from Smith Academy. Has that changed to coming
It's still
off of-
from Smith Academy.
Okay, so it's going
We had
to,
talked about potentially coming in through Day Avenue, and that never came.
so have we talked to the schools about potential impact of learning of the students while they're in school during this project?
Yeah, schools have been aware of this happening for a while, so they know that there'll be folks out there.
Okay.
We wanted
reality.
access on the other side. We did have a meeting with the property owners,
Mhm.
but they were just, it didn't work.
Right.
So all we need from 2 property owners on that side is an easement so they can move
can
on
do the
that
work,
side
yeah,
to do some
right.
work, which is
And-
part of this next thing as
Yep.
far as the easement. So
Right.
And I guess my final question would just be, I know that originally TRC was talking that there's a certain amount of time that this sedimentation sludge has to be on site for
Water.
to dewater.
Yeah.
How is that going to happen in sub-freezing temperatures? Just my
It's an
biggest-
interesting question because the plan was always to do this project in this weather. It's
Yeah.
not like yeah.
Yeah, let
yeah.
me just say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm fully supportive
No,
of the
sure.
project. I do think that there are some logistical problems, and I see like in here it's included that no extra payments will be made to the general
Yeah.
contractor, subcontractors for overtime or extra expenses incurred to meet the stated completion deadline. However, I guess my biggest question is how are we going to meet a timeline when things need to dewater in sub-zero temperatures?
Yeah. And we had 2 weeks set up for dewatering. I don't know if that's sufficient. And I'd say the timeline for the project extends through April, May.
Okay.
So, if there are delays here for things like that, and they should still be able to finish by then. That their responsibility is by the end to restore the site to
Mhm.
the preconditions. So we
I'm
think
just
that
a little
timeline
leery
allows some
about
time for it. No, it makes
timelines.
sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense. Weather is an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point, but between the engineers and the contractor, they haven't raised that as a concern for the 2 to 4 weeks for dewatering. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and this is all obviously enough to protect us from change orders due to incurred costs by the contractor if it takes longer than that.
Yeah, it should
Ooh.
protect us from
Right.
length issues. Yeah. I mean, if there's substantial changes to the site, whatever else, things that weren't caught in the plan, then obviously change orders can still get us. But
Any more questions?
No. No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I made a motion to accept this
I'll second
Uh,
it if it hasn't been.
upon approval from our legal department and provisional acceptance. So that's the motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, so when the contract is all set, then we just have to sign it. All right, now the next part of this project is approving 2 agreements for easements from 2 property owners, one being Brian Stolla and the other being Michael McGrath.
And we have, instead of phrasing these as easements, we put them together as licenses, which legal department said was totally fine. They don't have to be recorded like an easement would. It doesn't require town meeting approval because it's for a limited amount of time. And it's really just for access onto the land, temporary. A license agreement could be considered just as effective in this case. We've been working with the property owners for a few months. They've seen the iterations of these. They have been supportive. One final issue that we're trying to just decide on with Brian Stoya is he has a tree on his property that could be taken down as a part of this project. It was in as an ad alternate in the project. Right now, we're planning on moving forward that. If he wants the tree to stay up, it'll stay up. Likewise, on Michael McGrath's property, there's a tree that he absolutely wants down that's in there in the documents. So we think that will help with the overall condition of the pond moving forward. So that will come down. The project is it's intensive in both ways on each of their properties. Mr. Stoya actually owns part of the pond. His property includes part of the pond. So sort of the work itself is happening on his property, and he's on board with that. Mr. McGrath owns some property that connects with the culvert piece. So he had an interest in making sure that was done properly. But both of them have been supportive. They got copies of this a week ago, and I'm still waiting to see if they have any more edits. I don't believe they do, but if this board is comfortable with accepting this pending any substantial edits from them, anything substantial from them, we need to come back to the board. But if there's nothing substantial from them, then I'm hoping we can move forward with your additional approval tonight.
Okay, any
Both of these.
questions?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license agreement with Brian Stoya.
Motion made,
Second?
motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
A motion to approve the license agreement with Michael McGrath.
Second?
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so that should take care of Day Pond project.
And then I'll recommend that you don't sign those tonight. We'll wait till we have the final versions, and then once we have signatures from them, I'll come back to you for your signatures. It should be fine.
And John, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, okay?